We have a great show for you this morning. We have so much happening, and we'd like to first introduce our co host for today.
I'm Ken Coleman, author and historian.
Cheryl Ajmu, CEO of the Ajmu Group. We produce the Multicultural Media Luncheon during the Detroit Auto Show.
Good morning, Dr. Rose Moulton, clinical psychologist and author of Bloom 7 Steps to Personal Transformation.
Okay, well, we have a kind of special morning for you. We're going to go to a quick break, and we're going to have one comedian take another comedian's place for a minute. And stay tuned. We got a nice short interview with Mr. Mike Bonner. We are back. We are back. And that was a quick break. The other comedian will be back in just a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you don't recognize him, this is Mr. Mike Bonner, comedian extraordinaire. Good morning.
Hola. How are you?
I'm good. God, you mighty clean shaven this morning.
Because I just shaved the gray off now. I used to dye it. Now I'm like, I'm just gonna either shave it off or just not even, or we just wear it gray. I'm 50. It's all good.
I know it's all
It's
good.
all good.
I know it's all good. So, Mike, you have a lot going on. Tell us, in case our audience doesn't know, how long have you been doing comedy?
Since 1947, I started doing comedy after Joe Louis fought that boy Max Schmeling the second fight. No, I've been doing comedy since I was about 23 years old, and I just love it. You know what's crazy about comedy is that I really, really love performing. And I'm finding a way to learn more about comedy even now.
Wow.
As I'm like 50 years old. I started when I was in my 20s, and I love comedy. I just love the craft, and I'm still learning.
Well, Dr. Rose said she's a heckler. What do you do with hecklers?
Make them leave with low self-esteem. You hear me? I got to get my GED together. I got to do something with this school thing.
Any questions?
Hi,
ladies?
Mama. Can I say hi to my mama real quick?
Yeah.
My mama can fight.
Oh,
She 80 years old. I better say hi to her this before I leave here, because she can. In
she's
fact,
still fighting you?
my mother used to beat us growing up. I'm not really this dark.
Stop it. Bruises.
This is a bruise that won't go away.
Oh, really? How many of you were there?
In my house, there was five of us grew up together. Five.
5 children?
Yeah, five. Yeah, my brother David and Judy, Robbie, and Irene.
Wow.
Where are you? Are you youngest?
No, I'm right, like
In the
the
middle?
one that didn't get no chicken. That was the one that.
Must
You
be in
know.
the middle.
No, see, in my household, like you can tell big family kids, it's a big family etiquette. I don't know if you guys come from big families. Like you didn't like hang out late after my mother would cook, because you get home and the food would be gone. So I spent plenty of nights having one wing and some rice, a little piece of corn. It would be gone. Big family. My brother, yeah, David.
And you have kids.
I have kids. Yes, I have a daughter. Check it out. I have a daughter who's graduated from college, made an A.
Wow.
College graduate, Central State University. I'm very
Awesome.
proud of her, Jade.
Exciting.
And I have a 2-year-old son too. Yeah, I got a 2-year-old son.
That's
That's kind of
material.
crazy. That's crazy. Don't judge me though. I know what I'm doing. I'm making my own grandkids. You feel me? I don't want her to. I want her to stay focused. I want her to get a PhD like you. I'm making my own grand. He gonna be so confused. You my daddy, grandpa? Which one are you, my daddy or my grandpa?
Oh, Lord.
You old. You my friend, granddaddy age, but you my daddy. You don't want to throw the ball, do you?
When you go to parent teachers
You smell
conference,
old. You smell old.
how does those
Why you
smell?
smell old?
How does those smell?
Like I don't know.
I don't know, but you go to parent teachers
It's
conference.
a tear
when
coming in your eye, Brenda. That is one. I made Brenda cry laughing.
Oh, Lord. No, because that
I'm a
granddaddy
superhero.
thing.
The granddaddy thing.
When you go to parent teachers conference when your child is in 11th grade, they say, oh, his daddy's not.
Why he on the walker? Why my daddy jogged to the school? Why your daddy on the walker? And why he got his diaper showing? Your daddy diaper always showing. Why he smell like that? He smell like halls and cough drops and liniment.
Oh, Lord. Lord have mercy. Well, you're performing this weekend.
Yes,
huh?
man. Praise God. Doing my love. I love comedy. This is
Now,
lately
you were
who I
out
am.
of town last weekend. Where'd you go?
I played Chicago last weekend. I
Oh.
played Waukegan, Illinois, and I played Chicago.
How'd it go?
It was fantastic. Oh, my girl Sonia D in Chicago really. I did her anniversary for a comedy club in Waukegan, and it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. We had a great time. People came out. I get a little love out of town.
Yeah,
Honestly, I get a little love out of
We
town.
get
A lot of times
love
people
out of
come like,
town.
I'm gonna buy a new outfit. I'm going to see Mike Bonner. I swear to God, I don't know what it is.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I get it here sometimes. Detroit love me, but out of town, I get some love.
really
I ain't gonna even
do.
lie. It's praise God for out of town.
You know, the thing about performing out of town is like you're so new, and see, a lot of times in town they don't appreciate you. They take you for granted.
Yeah.
I went to high school with you, dog. You wasn't that funny in third hour class. You used to wear the same clothes a lot. Was you poor? I was poor.
Okay.
It's okay.
call
I
it-
hated hand-me-downs. Having sisters.
Was this the good word?
I had the worst hand-me-downs in the world. 3 sisters.
You got your sister.
I'm in the 4th grade wearing culottes. You know what I'm saying? I can't wear culottes.
Okay, all right. So you're performing this weekend.
At
Where
Mo-
you performing?
At Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. Been around for like 30 years now. It's one of the
Oh, yeah.
oldest clubs in America.
I've
It's
been there.
amazing. Mark is a great. I call Mark my first white best friend. He would because I didn't have no white friends growing up.
Where'd you go to high
I
school?
went to the Mumford High School,
The Mumford.
Mumford Mustang.
You did driver's training there?
I sure
So
did.
I.
You did?
I got
Wow.
kicked out the car because I went 20 miles an hour instead of 15.
You so gangster.
She was fast back
You a
then.
thug. Yay, yay. Brenda,
She was
Brenda can
ride
crip
or die.
walk.
Sure
You was
did.
ready to die.
Yeah.
And you had a little afro back then? You rocked the afro back in the 70s?
Did I? Oh, come on
Okay,
now.
yeah.
Look at my
You
Facebook
fine.
picture.
You fine. Look at your hair. Your hair is you so fine.
Ooh.
Look at her skin.
Oh, what's going on here?
Stop
Now
it.
she a
He's
fine
trying to
woman.
make some more babies,
And she
Brenda.
fine. No.
Yeah.
All right, no more kids for me.
That'll be the
I'll
immaculate.
I'll be the oldest man in front of the court. What are you here for? To get some records? He making a payment? How old is a man making a payment?
So we have another minute
I'm
or
sorry.
two with Mike.
I'm sorry.
So, Mike, so
Yes,
you're
ma'am, I'm sorry.
performing at Mark Ridley's. I
Yes.
love that place. It's
I
a
love
great
it.
place for
Royal
comedy.
What time does it start?
Tonight's show is 8 o'clock.
Okay.
8 o'clock tonight, and then tomorrow night, 8 and 10 o'clock.
Okay.
But
Definitely.
I'm going to announce right now, because since we're on television, starting May the 29th, I'm going to be doing a thing called Mike Bonner's Uptown Friday Nights, 10 o'clock show at the Comedy Castle.
Awesome.
While we bringing in national African American comedians showcasing their talent that wouldn't normally get a chance to play Mark Ridley's Comedy
That is
Castle.
great.
But
Oh,
we
that
gotta,
is
we-
great.
We got to shine them out. Every major mainstream club in America has a urban comedy night, and they're the biggest nights of the club. They generate the most money, whatever, most clientele.
Yeah.
Who are some of the comedians you
Oh,
think will be in?
I'm bringing in Touré, a guy. My first guy I'm going to bring in is from Philadelphia. Tall, handsome dude. People. Okay. Very funny. He's about 6'5", dark skinned chocolate, and he's
Ooh,
funny.
you gonna have all the ladies there.
He backs it up, and he's
Does
a
he
handsome,
wear
funny
work
guy.
clothes? I like a man in work
Like a man wear clothes.
Oh, yeah.
Man smell like motor oil. Oh, he smell like motor oil. He got a job. Look at it. He work. He got a little couple of dollars.
Okay.
He can go get something to eat this week. He got a couple of dollars. He got a couple of dollars.
You're so silly.
He smell like motor oil. Look at his fingernails all dirty. See, you grown to understand that. I had a friend of mine who got divorced because he worked too much on cars. He's a mechanic, licensed mechanic.
He worked too.
And his wife said, "You work too much. You always smell like motor oil." I said, "A grown woman will appreciate that smell of motor
Absolutely.
oil, and you working all the time
Yeah.
on some grown woman stuff. And you grown. You want Greg's number?
We'll
You
talk
married?
about it later.
Are you married, Miss Brenda?
No, not anymore.
You single?
No. Yeah. Yes. Wait. Yes, I am.
This is my second marriage.
Oh,
My first wife got the buyout.
It's so
okay. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Bonner. You've seen
ask you
nothing
no
yet
questions.
because he does a lot of physical comedy
Oh,
too.
animated.
He is really great.
Looking
Really
forward
great.
to it.
So this weekend, Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, right in Royal Oak,
Yep.
not far from Woodward. We know Woodward, and we will see you there.
Thank you so much.
Don't
And the
act like
29th,
you
you
don't
got
know
to keep
us
me
either.
up on
No,
that.
I'm so blessed that you guys are coming. If you want to come, I'll be.
act like you don't
It would
know
be
us.
so. I'm gonna celebrate the fact that you're there. I swear to God, I love when people come to see me. It means something to me. I want to show out.
Okay.
If you come tonight, I'm gonna show out for you.
Okay.
Because you came. That's the way I get down. I get excited when I see my friends come to my shows.
Okay.
We will be
Okay,
there.
so we'll be back in just a moment, everybody. Thank you, Mike, for
Thank
coming,
you,
making
Mike.
Thank
me
you.
laugh. We're back, we're live. We have the other comedian with us. We have Mr. Ken Coleman.
I'm coming behind Mike
And
Bonner.
what took so long, they had to have a fight between the shows.
Yes.
Who was the best?
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes.
on this day written by Ken Coleman, on this day, April 3rd, the Detroit alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated is founded. But also in 1967, that was in 1920. In 1967, Motown Records Corporation Tamla Motown label debuts in Italy with local language versions of the hits by the Supremes, Four Tops, and Stevie Wonder, among others. Because our time is shorter, I can't sing for you all this morning. Yeah, I
That's
know.
why I'm here.
I know, but we got to go on. I want to express sympathy for the 147 people, students and faculty who were
Yeah.
killed over in Kenya by, was it Boko Haram? Oh, no, the other ones. There's so
Yeah.
many. They said if you were Christian, they killed you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a scary world we live in.
Yeah.
It's really scary because you never know. I mean, these people are taken off guard. Why do you just kill people?
They're just popping
no
up
reason.
anywhere around the world. It
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, we talk about mass killings, but I did want to mention that, and our sympathies go out. Now, the Republican Party, they had this religious freedom law. This past week, it's really kind of taken a hit. Can anyone tell me what that was? That
Have our political guy talk about that.
Yes.
Look.
Well, what the state of Indiana is, the legislature passed and the governor has signed, and now the legislature's gone back and tried to massage it a little, is a religious, absolutely.
I like
they
that
they
word.
call it a religious freedom bill. And what it really is an accommodations bill around businesses, and it gives businesses the right to turn away services to someone, in this case, if they happen to be gay or lesbian. And so if you are marrying your companion and you go to ABC Bakery Store and say, I want to buy a cake for my service or celebration, that business would have the right under this Freedom Act to deny you service. And so we fought the fight for civil rights in the 50s and 60s for public accommodations. And then later for private accommodations, and the gay and lesbian transgender community is having to fight a lot of that same fight now. What's interesting, if I could just dovetail, because it comes at interesting timing in Indiana, because this weekend is the NCAA, the Men's College Basketball Final Four, is being held in Indiana.
Oh, okay.
If you've ever been in downtown Indiana, you know that the Lucas Oil Stadium, where the basketball game is being played, is probably about a mile away from the NCAA corporate headquarters. And that has touched off a firestorm of people in the sports world saying, because of this Religious Freedom Act, I don't know that I want to participate in the Final Four activities. Even Charles Barkley, who's somebody who, generally
is
says
very
something-
conservative.
Yeah, he's come out against this act. So it'll be interesting to see, ladies, how that plays out this weekend. A lot of us will be rooting for Michigan State tomorrow, but a bigger issue, quite frankly, is how the NCAA and the rest of the state of Indiana react to this this law.
And it all seems to be about religion.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I was going to say one of the most divisive constructs that exist in the world, which is the
And
paradox
that's why a lot
of
of people are homophobic too. They're homophobic because the fact they say religion. I'll never forget. We brought it up in a class I was teaching. This is a long time ago at Highland Park Community College, and some of the offensive things that some of my men students would say. I mean, it was just crazy. But they say the world is kind of changing their attitude towards LGBT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're it's definitely gonna flush out those who have still set strongly in their beliefs. You can't with this. It's one of those issues where you're looking at discrimination and you're looking at prejudice. So one of the things we can't control is a person's personal prejudice. You cannot control that.
Can't
People
legislate
will always, you can't
Right.
legislate it. People will always have that. However, discrimination is an act. Prejudice is an attitude. So we all have a right. We do have a right to have whatever attitude we have, whether we agree with your attitude or Ken's or
Right.
Brenda's. But discriminatory actions is just something that needs to be legislated.
Right, absolutely.
And how will they
absolutely.
tell anyway? Like if someone comes into a bakery,
They come
how
in
would
holding
they
hands.
know? But what
Well,
if
if
they
you
don't?
get
Yeah.
a cake to Ken
Yeah.
and John, on
Yeah.
your wedding day.
Well, well, I mean that's true too. But there are activists within that community, just like we saw in the 50s and 60s, and
Oh,
continue to see in our
absolutely.
civil rights community.
Right.
I mean, we often talk about the fact that Rosa Parks. We've learned over the years that Rosa Parks just wasn't an innocent bystander in 1955 in Montgomery. In fact, she consciously made the decision to consciously disobey the local law. So in Montgomery, so you'll see the activist community in Indiana and other
Testing it.
states tested. Another thing to bring this back to home, there was a similar bill that's passed in the Michigan State House. What happens is in the legislative process, if it passes the House, it goes over to the Senate. The Senate is reviewing it, and Governor Snyder, interestingly enough, was forced to come out this week looking at Indiana, one of our Big Ten neighbors. He was forced to come out this week and say he's not interested in signing that type of bill. And you've never seen Governor Snyder come out ahead of the legislature and say much of anything. Be interesting to see what happens in Lansing on a very similar bill.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen. But I don't know why this is, that they're passing legislation like this. If somebody said, well, we're trying to make the playing field even. That doesn't make the playing field even. Yeah, that's what they said. Because what about the people whose religious beliefs don't believe in, it's just like people who don't get their children inoculated.
Yeah.
Once you step outside, urban and metropolitan areas, and you go to rural parts of the country, a lot there is for these type of laws and this type of legislation, there is a constituency that is very much a part of it. And Indiana's our neighbor, just a couple hours away. But understand this, and I think we all have sort of known this growing up. Indiana is one of the most conservative states in the nation. It was a home at a time for the Ku Klux Klan. And if you get outside of some urban areas and outside of Indianapolis and maybe a couple other places,
You better watch yourself.
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Right,
So I'm not
right.
surprised
Yeah.
that Indiana is the case in this situation.
Well, being a past, to kind of change to our next subject, being a past educator, it really got me that those 11 former Atlanta educators were jailed for this cheating scandal. I don't know how blatant or how stupid they were to erase answers on tests and not think that they would get found out, because even if you say if you have an SAT or ACT and it's say 17 and you do all this studying, they say the most you could go up is maybe 2 points.
Yeah.
But they leapt up
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
regular testing.
Why do you think I mean, I know they probably did it for funding
Oh,
or
and they got
to
cash rewards
Yeah.
too.
bonuses.
They got bonuses.
How
Cash-
was it discovered? Was there a whistleblower
because
or
the Atlanta Journal-Constitution noted, wait a minute,
how
this
these leaps
leap,
and bounds? Yeah.
the leap,
Yeah.
it can't happen like that. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen like
And you
that.
would think educators would know that.
As a former reporter, one of the things that reporters will always tell you in these situations is it's a whistleblower situation, or it's an inside piece of information that the Journal-Constitution was able to get. What's interesting about this case, and we saw this locally in a very different sort of case, obviously with Kwame Kilpatrick. The RICO statute now is being used in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
We have come to know it as associated with organized
Gangsters,
crime.
gangsters.
But the reason why these sentences are so high in terms of the year, in terms of years, is because of the RICO statute. And I think what's happening now, federal prosecutors are saying, they're drawing the tie if it's interstate commerce, if it's federal funds related. they're throwing these big cases. And Atlanta was very interesting. I saw that case sort of break when I was leaving the public school system as an administrator. There is so much pressure, y'all, to teach to the test.
Tell
Yeah.
me about
It's,
it.
it's about it's about funding, but
Yeah.
it's about your very existence oftentimes as an educator, even if you're in a bargaining unit.
Yeah.
And it's a shame to see it, Brendan. I know you as a teacher, you I know you have some very definite opinions about this, but what's happening in our public school system now with this sort of teach to the test mentality is scary.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Because you can't do anything else. My kids' school, nothing happens before meet test now, and it's in the fall. You know, they do no extracurricular activities. Everything is withheld because they're spending those first 5-6 weeks teaching
Preparing.
and
That
getting
test.
for that test.
Yeah.
And
Teaching the test
and there's
or
a
teaching
well,
the-
and that's the fine line, Cheryl,
Yeah.
and that's what we saw in this Atlanta case. I mean, it's a fine line. You know, do you show Johnny how to get the right answer, or do you show Johnny strategies, give Johnny strategies
Right.
for him to
Or
get
do
the
you
right
just
Right.
give them the right answer?
That's
Do
what
your
I'm saying.
racist wrong
right,
answers?
and what we saw in Atlanta was
Right.
the worst
Yeah,
case
yeah,
scenario.
yeah.
Right.
And also, the test scores are connected so much to your district. You don't want to be a failing district, then people won't come. And you know you have to have students come so you could have funding. And a lot of pressure is there.
And we've had this discussion before, there just needs to be a general overhaul in this education system as a country as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A general overhaul, and there needs to be more just talk about a even playing field or consistency across the board. And
accountability.
accountability.
And what happened there, because their superintendent, she was indicted too, but she died.
Yeah.
She died a couple of months ago,
Yeah.
but she was indicted. But they said a lot of the teachers who didn't want to do this, they were so fearful
Yeah,
for their jobs.
They were told.
threatened.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do? You don't do it ideally, but you can understand the pressure. You have a family to feed. You're being told if this doesn't pan out right, you won't have a job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if your students don't pass, you're not doing your work, and
Yeah.
which is so wrong. It's unfortunate, but I think it's a tale.
Yeah, it was
Well,
sad to
yeah.
see. I was watching, catching the courtroom proceedings on the morning news yesterday, and just sad to see so many people that look like us
Yeah.
being carted
Yeah.
away in
Yeah.
handcuffs,
Oh,
educated.
man, when
you
I
know.
saw them,
Yes.
You know, the irony is absolutely, Dr. Moore. I mean, the irony is, it happens in Atlanta, another chocolate city, a city known for higher education, right?
Yeah.
People go to Spelman and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Morris
Morehouse.
Brown and Morehouse, and they end up staying there. The intelligentsia there is been there for decades, and this becomes part of at least recent legacy
Yeah.
Yeah.
of Atlanta, at least through its public schools.
Well, it's a cautionary tale, I
Yes,
tell
it
you.
is.
Now, Nolan Finley, who you can feel how you want about him. I'm not a big fan, but what he talked about was a childhood tragedy here in Detroit. It was kind of on the heels of that situation with the lady with her children in the freezer. And he's talking basically how the lady was like failed before she even started having children. What do you think? Any of you have?
Well, I read the piece, and like oftentimes with opinion pieces like Nolan Finley's, you can pick pieces out that suit your sensibilities and find things that make you want to throw a sponge brick at
Right,
Nolan.
right.
And let me just deal with the sponge brick part. I mean, I think what happens is we tend to look for very sort of convenient answers when situations like
Simple
this happen.
solution.
When we talked about this last week, one of the things I said, I want to let some time go through this and understand this. Obviously horrific. Obviously, if she's admitted to it, she's guilty. All of that stuff we know. But there are a whole lot of things that sort of wrap themselves up into an issue like this. And I think with Finley's piece, Finley sort of takes the position, well, that's because, you people in the black community don't do enough policing yourselves. You can jump up and down when somebody gets murdered in a white community, but when you do it to yourself, so to speak, there's not the same hue and cry. I think the challenge that I would have to that is, I think we challenge ourselves as a community every day. I think that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. The reality is 2, 4, and 7 in the Detroit News and Free Press don't cover it. There's a very passionate woman in this town that leads rallies against crime.
We have a call. Hold
Okay.
on. Good morning.
Good morning again. How are you?
Oh, just fine, Tom.
And happy Easter to everyone.
Same
Same
to
to
you.
you.
You know what? I read Nolan Finley's article also. And me personally, Nolan hit all the nails on the head. because you know what? And the thing is, this woman, she had issues before she even birthed children into the world. And, you know, it's a shame that those kids became, you know, consequentially became victims of her issues. And, you know, I saw a thing you know, and then where they're going to lay blame, okay? They wanted to lay blame at the foot of the, you know, DPS. And this one guy, he's a teacher, was in the Free Press this morning, where he said that he had reported it to the truant officer, and the truant officer, and some time went by, I guess 100 days, and the girls hadn't come back to school. So he calls Child Protective Services, and basically, you know, they told him that, like, you know, something like this doesn't, you know, come up high on the radar screen. But, you know, that was and I just couldn't believe that this woman, you birth these children into the world, and you do something like this, and you have the child, your own child, put the bodies in a freezer. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, somebody says, well, why didn't the kids go and tell? I says, listen, that woman, she started messing with those kids in terms of, like, brainwashing and just...
systematically.
I can't think of another word. Way before they were even probably realized that they were even in the world. And, you know, once they got, you know, you get to a certain point, like a fail state point, you can't turn around and come back. And
Right.
that's what she did with those children.
Right. Well, we have another call coming
Okay.
in. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Tom. Thank you.
Bye.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning, Mr. Coleman.
Good morning.
I'm so proud of you. I just had to call and say that. I am so proud of you. This is Miss Person. You know who I am.
I'm taking that to the bank.
I am so proud of you for taking the history of the city of Detroit and telling the people about it. I know you're not old enough to know all the history of the city of Detroit, but the people that you're getting it from, they're really telling the truth. And most of all, the people in the city of Detroit got to start sticking together instead of the fighting among each other. You might have an education going to college and you got somebody that hasn't been to college. But I think both of y'all, if you come together, we will accomplish something. We cannot accomplish anything in the city of Detroit without coming together. And that's all I want to say. I'm proud of you, sir, because, you know, I've talked about you for a long time in a different way.
I got the battle scars, Miss Person.
But
I'm taking this one to the
thing
bank.
that you're
Can I have a
doing-
tape of this show?
But the thing that you're doing now, God bless you, and you keep up the good work.
Well, thank you so much, and happy Easter weekend.
Bye-bye.
And thank you for calling. That was so nice.
Yeah, hey, because I've gotten the blues sometimes at some public meetings with this person.
So, you know, in our community, and Dr. Rose, with you being a psychologist, know this, we have this stigma related to mental health. We have to keep, I think the more we keep talking about it, the more people might seek help.
But you know, the issue is that the stigma that we have with mental health has to do with this stigma of mental health issues that are the rare mental health issues, like your schizophrenia or the people we see talking on the corner, or someone just having psychotic symptomology or things of that sort. We have to understand mental health issues is young girls becoming pregnant before they're developmentally ready to become mothers. The issues that's going to cause for the children.
Right.
It's so systematic and it's so cyclic because it continues to happen generation after generation after generation. This all boils down to mental health issues. People want to, and yeah, the mother committed this atrocious act. But anyone that commits an act like this has to have some type of mental health issue
But
going on.
but here's my only point. I'm sorry, Cheryl. Let me just do this real quick. Here's my only point to that, and I think you guys are all right. And the point that I was making earlier is, Nolan can't have it both ways, because at the same time, I recognize, and I think all four of us recognize exactly what you said is true, Dr. Rose. The reality is, you know, a lot of times folks in these media ivory towers like to talk about the issue, but in Lansing, they're constantly taking federal dollars away. If Lafayette Clinic was open, which is only about a half mile away from her home, if Lafayette Clinic was open today, perhaps she would have had some place to go. Now, there's an issue, no question, in our community about whether or not it's cool for us to go there. but it's got to be available.
And
too.
not just
I think
in
we got
our
to do both things.
community, it's a federal issue.
question.
Federal dollars.
No-
That is
no
so
question.
little money that goes to mental
Mental
health
health.
issues. You look at bullying, you look at all these issues, gun control, you look at all the main issues that the social ills that we're surrounded. It all boils down to improper, just emotional intelligence.
Right.
People
we have,
not having
we have a
emotional
call.
intelligence.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm enjoying the show.
Thank you.
Can you all tell me what are the rules for when you want to homeschool your children? You know, this young lady was failed. The Department of Social Services had 2 cases against her. Nothing happened. She had been charged. She had a relative on the police force who worked in child welfare. Nothing was done. Nothing was investigated. The neighbors failed her. Her family failed her. And the school system failed her. You should not be allowed to do homeschooling without having your place investigated to make sure the children are using the right computers and everything. None of that was done. We failed her completely.
Yes.
Right.
So many people.
Yeah.
Government oftentimes, the answer to your question, I think the short answer to your question is government oftentimes, and you know, whether it's the legislature in Lansing or the folks on Capitol Hill in D.C., oftentimes these bills and these policies and these acts get signed into law, and there's no conversation and thought about the regulatory process after, right?
Right.
We just want religious freedom to do X, Y, and Z. We want you to have the social right to opt out of federal programs if you want. But so what happens is she required monthly to talk to somebody in an administrative and regulatory
No
function?
accountability.
No, and
No
so
accountability.
It sounds great. It makes a good headline. It gets people elected and reelected. But we end up having cases like this, and it's bigger. It's bigger than the woman herself. It is the community, all elements. But I guess the point that I make, I take issue with Finley is it's just not like a black community thing. I mean,
No,
there were
it's
several
not. It's
agencies.
not.
There were several agencies that failed her. She failed. She failed her family and all of that. But there's another side of this that we just don't talk about because it's not convenient. It takes too much time. You got to roll up your sleeves and try to figure it
And
out.
this can be sensationalized. You
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
They're going to win. Somebody's going to win a journalism award for writing
story.
about this story.
Absolutely.
And it's deflecting
Yeah.
from the real
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
Well, we got to move on. Oh,
Are they going to get her some help?
this.
Well,
she's in.
You know, and the thing is, when you ask that she's incarcerated, it's unlikely she will get a charge of like NGRI, what we call not guilty for reason of insanity, because there's no history.
diagnosis.
Yeah.
There's no history. And that's the problem. Again, with Lafayette Clinic, with like your Walter
Northville,
Reuther,
they had-
Northville.
If there was a
Track record. If there
you
was
will.
a track record, you know, we could show that this woman, and again, people would follow her because there's tons of in-home services that are available for people like this woman, and you know, there are dozens, perhaps hundreds more like her with that homeschooling issue. I see these cases on a regular basis where kids are being homeschooled, but they're not being educated.
Yeah.
But that prevents the parents from being, charged for having truant kids.
That's crazy. Well, Isaiah Washington.
He manages to say something every 2-3
and years he comes out of the woodwork. See, Chris Rock was taking a selfie. He's like Cheryl's friend. He was taking a selfie every time he had been stopped by the police. And so Isaiah Washington talks about the fact that he had this Mercedes and he was always stopped, so he got a Prius when he wasn't stopped. So he tells Chris Rock, just adapt to racial profiling. What in the heck?
Yeah, Twitter is a platform where we say lighthearted things, we say things we mean, we say things we don't mean. I think the problem for Isaiah Washington is he is a public figure, and what he tweets, people are going to analyze and scrutinize, and it certainly sounds like he's blaming the victim. Which again is another problem, sort of an offshoot of the previous.
Well, it's saying this is the way it is, and
Just
get
deal
used
with
to
it.
it.
Yeah, you know, when I saw it, and again, it's all open to interpretation. That's the problem with social media because I say, oh, that's
Well,
sarcasm.
I saw his
I saw that
interview.
sarcasm.
Did you see his interview
No, I
with
didn't.
Don?
Lemon, your
another
favorite.
issue.
Oh,
That's a whole nother
that's a
issue.
whole nother one. Yeah, but you
But
know.
sarcasm. You think he meant it?
Yeah, I think
jest
it.
or lightly?
I think potentially. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what, but that was my first take on it. But that's the problem with any type of social media or texting. I tell patients all the time, people have like these text message fights and things because it gets lost in
Yeah.
translation.
I tell you tell patients, I tell political candidates,
Yeah,
you might
don't
not want
do
to
it.
do it.
Don't do it.
140 characters, you can read a lot into. It
Right.
doesn't show
Whatever
inflection
you
and
want to
feeling
read
and whatever.
into it.
It's
Right.
just those characters.
I think he was trying to be in some potentially comedic in a sense because he knows Chris Rock is a comedian. But what Chris Rock, it's a lot of information left out of this. Why was he stopped? We don't know if he was let off. So there's just a lot of just dialogue
Well,
going
I
around
saw-
with these selfies
I
all
saw
around.
him, and he was quite serious. He says, "Watch where you go. The areas you may be." Yeah, Washington. He said you may be in a place where you're in this.
Oh, he
big
took it
con-
to okay. So
He took-
he interviewed following that. I didn't
there
see
was
that.
an interview with Don Lemon. Oh, Don Lemon. Don Lemon is a whole nother thing. But seriously, you shouldn't have to adapt to that. And Chris Rock was just taking a picture every time he got
Or
started.
or like you said, sell when I saw it, I thought to myself, he didn't sell that 90,000 Mercedes because of that. He lost
He
his job.
needed the money. That's what I was saying. That was my first thought. He needed the money.
You just have to be careful. And I think the problem with this is that it's a brother criticizing another brother on an issue. We've gone through the last decade of the driving while black phenomena. You've got all of these issues now about Black Lives Matter. It just comes at the worst timing. And Isaiah, if you're watching the broadcast, I am available to provide public relations assistance for you. Hit me. My Twitter
Give me your
handle
Twitter
is
feed. What's your Twitter handle?
Coleman1967.
Cheryl, what do you feel about this?
Coming from the South, it's something that we experienced a lot, but I don't think that we would take it as get used to it. I think he was trying to bring light to the situation that it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or not. You are still African American. And I think that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to bring light to
and
that.
Rose, you had encountered this earlier in the year with your son.
Yeah, with my son, parked in front of our home, and he was approached by two police officers. But this is just something. I have two sons, and I know with your son, this is just the reality. Ken's son's not driving yet, but he will be. And it's just a reality
God,
that
I
they
hate
they
it.
learn.
I hate it, though.
Yeah, because even this is just the reality of being a black man in America. It is.
And it's just as important as, learning the 3 R's, learning how to navigate yourself.
In those situations.
In communities.
Put
And
your
it's not-
hand on the steering wheel.
Right.
Let them see your hands.
No
at all
quick
times.
movements.
Right.
Right.
Even taking the selfie, I wouldn't recommend that, because
I wouldn't either. 'Cause
you
They
know.
may
Yeah.
think you're holding a gun out.
Or you're trying to be funny, okay?
Yeah. You're not going to get the best of me because police officers are not. People don't check out their mental health on a regular
Right.
basis.
No.
Definitely.
Something
Now,
else that I've seen lately, just driving around, a lot of African American men getting arrested, but then I see far to the side somebody is videotaping it.
Yeah,
I'm starting
yeah.
to see that more
Of
and more
course,
and more.
yeah.
People are videotaping it, and the people who are getting arrested are very happy. I mean, they're smiling like, please,
Videotape, yeah,
yeah.
as they
I'm
should.
starting to see that more and more around town.
wow. Yeah. In fact, I first saw it a few years ago. We were doing a movie, and it was some of my students were in it, and they used the school as the set. These people from the outside, and they had to have a fight. And this is when most of the phones were still flip phones. I saw my students standing up there like that. I said, "What are you doing?" "We film fights, Miss Perriman, now. We film fights." And it is
Lord,
atrocious,
help us.
atrocious. Now, two families, I just brought them in here real quick. Lawrence Fishburne's mother says she may get evicted, said he's gone Hollywood. And then Marvin Gaye's sisters say they should get a cut of the money. Now, let's start with Lawrence Fishburne. His mother was a teacher. She raised him. She she has a pension. I mean, what do we expect?
There's something else in this
I
story.
know it has to
There's
be.
something else.
It's something that's not being
I'll
said.
tell you what I read into it. First of all, mom sounds very cantankerous, right? I mean, sounds like she's peed off. We don't know what the issue is. I hear these stories all the time, even with clients, where you have adult parents who expect, because I gave birth to you, you're responsible for me. And first of all, that's not fair. That's not fair. As a parent of 4, it would be nice, if my children choose to do that, but that's not what I brought them in this world to do.
Right.
We don't know if she has maybe some gambling issue. I mean, I'm just throwing things out there where it was ultimatums given, like I've given you enough, I'm not going to give you any more. She has a $3,000 a month pension coming in, rent is $1,500, so that leaves $1,500 additional dollars. Where is the money going? Where is the money going?
You just hate to see this public,
Yeah.
Publicly.
Yeah.
And to do that to your son, like
Yeah.
even if
You
that
must be
were
at
the
your wit's
case,
end if you-
you know what? Even if that were the case, I would not want to bring
Make
my
that
child
public.
into
Yeah,
that.
humiliate my
Even
child.
if I'm angry with that child,
Right.
if I feel that child is in the wrong as she feels he's in the wrong, there are certain things you just don't do as a parent.
Why do people reach out like that and want to get public to shame them?
Yep,
Is it the
exactly.
shame
To
game?
shame.
To
Yeah.
humiliate them.
To shame and to coerce,
Yeah,
to
hoping
coerce
that
him
comes in.
into paying,
That's blackmail.
It happens all the time.
Emotional blackmail.
I being a reporter over the years and working in public relations and for being a media officer for entities, we'd often hear, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm gonna call Fox 2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, get the Hall of Shame on you, or get the
And it
problem
will
solver
straighten
on
some
you.
people out.
And, and people
Effective.
respond.
Yeah.
They get
Yeah.
what they want. I know it's African. For me, it's African Americans. You hate to see it.
Right.
Fishburne, at least publicly, as far as I know, has been a very stand-up guy. I think he's a very he has a sort of very conscientious public career, at least in terms of the roles that he chooses, and and so I hate to see it happen.
Well, you hate to see it, especially with black people,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you said. And then Marvin Gaye's sisters, they just need to go on. I mean, they're not owed anything.
You're not owed anything as a sibling.
No.
You're just not.
You only get one shot though. Sometimes.
Oh,
You
my
gotta go
gosh.
for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
He said one shot, go for it.
one shot. Well, it's the old adage. We've got to do better about providing wills
Yeah.
for our families, whether you have $5 or $5 million. We see these fights end up in probate court all the time. I mean, I know probate lawyers that they can tell you some stories, man, and they'll never make the news because they're not entertainers. But yeah, it appears to me this is a little bit of a stretch for those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I think, and I wish we had our attorney here,
Yeah,
but
Tiffany.
I know in wrongful death suits, siblings have a right. So not just your siblings. When you have attorneys that are investigating wrongful death suits, they need to have all the names of all the children, the offspring, as well as the siblings, because siblings have a right. So like things like aviation disasters and things of that sort, siblings do have a right. But this isn't wrongful death.
No.
This is.
Royalties.
So maybe it's some legal loophole. I'm imagining there's some legal loophole that these sisters have become aware of that they're attempting to.
Look, and some lawyers probably sold them on something.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a case for the lawyer.
Right,
Get
well,
his or her name out.
It's going to
Right.
be a appeal anyway. But I just don't think the songs sound alike. But anyway, that's neither
do.
here nor there. Listen,
I think they did.
you do? I
Yeah,
know.
it was just, I felt like, it sounded like Blurred Line was just sped up.
Well, he has another one that sounds exactly like another Marvin Gaye song too, and he says Marvin Gaye. Yeah, this one
Influence.
this sounds more like Marvin Gaye
Wow.
song than the Blurred Lines, and I can't think of the name
Oh,
right now.
I-
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But
You have to give it up.
again, the thing to do, because he credited Marvin Gaye as being a big influence for him, definitely. And in those cases, you
we
can,
gotta wrap
like
it
Sam
up.
Smith.
It's time.
Oh,
Sam Smith, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I hate it goes by so fast. Everybody, happy Easter to you.
and happy Good
And
Friday.
have a peaceful time and really reflect. It's a time to reflect and resurrect your spirit. I'm using this weekend for that personally.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.